Welcome back to HGC Korea, guys. We are in our first series of the night. Ballistix with a dominant 2-0 lead over BlossoM. BlossoM having an intelligent draft in Game 1. He's super outdrafted in Game 2. And the struggle, it was real.
And struggle may continue unless they do something special. I think banning something, as we were talking about in the break, maybe just ban Uther and bring Genji, so they can't take away Uther. Of course, you'd like to take Uther, but if you first pick Genji, you're not going to have that Uther. So might as well just ban it out and try to have a different style of drafting.
Or take Uther, try to lead them to the Genji pick, and then be like, well, I have the Uther, or then they take Greymane, and then you have Genji plus Uther, which is quite strong. But like taking the Genji in that position with Uther available was just a bad move, I think.
Yeah, depending on the next ban, depending on what the other team bans, I think if everything's open, if Uther, Genji, Hanzo, Greymane, if everything's open, even the other team can only take 2. So given that thought, it's very easy logically. You can take whatever is left or whatever you want first. I think banning or taking Uther from the beginning can be okay. I think we're gonna have the days where Uther may just be banned from the beginning. Who knows?
I mean, I think that could happen in this series. Like if the teams are thinking, about the sort of the similar lines that we are. It's interesting as well. Blaze in his debut game was the solo laner, so even though he's like considered a tank. If he becomes a meta solo laner, he will be probably like the tankiest and most peeliest solo laner, which is kind of cool to think about. Because like think about like Leoric, he's very tanky, but not really. You don't think of him as a peeler as much as like a Murden or an ETC, right? So it's been a while since we like the first like tank we had solo laner was ETC when stage dive was a thing, and like now it's like going back to this weird situation where you have this insanely tanky solo laner who's got like good wave clear. And so you can run comps that kind of have 2 tanks like we saw with Tyrael in the mix there. So I like the way that Ballistix drafted. The Sonya ban was intelligent, and the Sonya ban was also really cool. Like it was like really thinking ahead because they were already thinking about Blaze as a solo laner, and so like Sonya would be kind of bullying in that respect more than a Dahaka. So I like the kind of ideas and the pushing forward here that we saw from Ballistix. They will pick the map again. So it will be their third and potentially final map pick here, the Infernal Shrines pick, whereas BlossoM will yet again take first pick. So how they use it is what everyone is wondering right now is the question.
I don't think Dehaka was enough for the solo lane. Of course, Wiz, his best hero, Sonya, was banned out, so he was kind of forced to do Dehaka in a big map. But this one, I think, instead of Dehaka, maybe just bringing Sonya if it's banned again. Maybe taking Leoric away. I think Ballistix is having way too much fun with Leoric. No other Korean team's not really picking Leoric at this moment, but I think they have so much power because of that pick. Sometimes into whatever they do, ETC seems like the pair up for them, as it is promised with Uther most of the time. So taking any of those away into your own hands, if it's practiced, of course.
Yeah, and the pairings has been for BlossoM. They had a Nubrok, Sonya, so they had kind of a bruiser top laner, and then in the second game it was Garrosh and Dahaka, so it had a global. And highlighting the Genji ban at the moment is what they went with in Game 1. So regardless, it looks like, of our theories about potentially trying to steal the Uther away or control that part of the Genji draft, you can just simply go back to the beginning of the cycle and ban the Genji itself. It means that adjustments are being made in this draft, but the fact that still a discussion is ongoing here. In fact, I'm looking at I'm looking at everyone on screen right now. Not one person is speaking. But like, well, let's talk about this. Not one person is speaking. We had an entire 5-minute break for this game to talk about the draft. That's worrisome. Not one person is speaking while we have this hover. And I'm guessing it's Wiz is the one who pulls the trigger, right? But there's no discussion about this. As you say, we almost had the Uther ban, but Genji comes in just the same. That's worrisome in terms of shot calling. Morale is clearly low. And let's see what Ballistix bring to the table. Again, going to ban the Sonya. How will they control it this time, though? Hanzo's taken away. For the first time in a while, we actually don't see Hanzo played for Ballistix. They've been getting it almost every time. Just Greymane Uther. Seen this before, G-Clef.
Too easy. Just like in Game 1. Hanzo's taken away, but still having that Uther, I think that's the most powerful tool right now in this meta. And you really need that solo support with the Divine Shields. Sometimes Divine Storm seen in Korea also, but that only against when they're having like a crazy stomp games only.
I feel like Uther is great in two different facets. Like in this game, he's great to empower Greymane, obviously, and make him be a very powerful DPS in terms of dive. But in the previous set, he was a counter to the Genji. He was able to help peel against that, protect targets that were being bursted by the Genji with his armor that he provides in that burst healing. So Uther functions as two things, right? Same with Greymane functions as like four things: poke, dive, clear of camps, wave clear for pushing the lanes, like does insane siege damage. But yeah, these two heroes, I feel like, are kind of be permanently burned into the tops of our screens. Lucio gets through the draft for the first time in this series. We'll be there with Garrosh, but this leads STE to get a little bit hyped. I think there's definitely some discussion now about okay, it's a cleanseless comp again. Anyone want to play Tyrael? Eyes pointing probably to Jungha and Hooligan here, saying, well, there's the opportunity to use this burst comp that Tempest found great success with against KSV Black.
The Judgment Hinterland last combo. I think that's still possible with Greymane. Also, BlossoM should be thinking something like a Tychus instead against Ballistix. Of course, will have high understanding of Tychus, but kind of like having a similar draft from the Ballistix game #1 with Tychus and Hanzo. I think that also works in this specific map too. The only problem would be if the synergy is not there, then they will just not get the kill. They do have the damage, and Hanzo, if he goes to basic attack with the redemption, I think it's a lot better. Scatter arrow is still good, but to get the kill at the end, I think, oh man, Ballistix is on top of our heads.
Yeah.
Even. Of course, they're crazy gods.
I mean, so the Tychus ban here is not really a surprise because I've essentially just said, okay, we've taken away your reliable damage. In fact, Ballistix can run solo DPS Greymane now if they want to. They can do double support. They can run the Tyrael and run Sank instead of Judgment. And they can actually draft a Tyrael here, wait with a Soul Laner, and save the fifth pick for a second support to make it Greymane and a Sank comp, or they can run it the Falstad as their fifth pick for like Judgment. Like, how does Ballistix mess up the end of this draft with those two heroes they have at the front? Nubrak was removed. Like, I don't think Ballistix is concerned even slightly by that at this moment in time. Sure, they would have loved to pick it, but they don't need a strong frontliner necessarily against the comp of BlossoM. Like, diving in with a Nubrak, as we saw already, it was somewhat suicidal against Hanzo when the armor reduction comes through. They draft the Tyrael, but it could be for multiple things. Like, we could see the fifth pick be a Falstad for the aggressive pushing power that it's going to provide on this map, as well as the combo we saw on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Could be just a secondary support, solo DPS Greymane, and also could be something really strong like a Li Ming, a secondary DPS.
Any mage or even a Medivh, I think it's okay for them to actually fit in here.
And what does BlossoM now pick? Because they have to decide what their DPS means. Is it a denial DPS? Is it a really strong DPS against what Ballistix has chosen here? Because it's impossible to know the direction that Ballistix is going to take with this fifth pick, and Ballistix probably hasn't even decided yet. So for BlossoM, you're just kind of saying, oh god, they have the last pick here. Nothing we do can stop it because we don't know what it is. We already have a relatively weak draft at the moment.
So let's talk about DPS a little bit. If they go so far away, I'm thinking of something like a Sergeant Hammer. Illidan into this comp with Tassadar. Okay, this is a different approach as they're trying to get the basic attack off. Illidan can kind of provide his own escapes in a way with Tassadar.
This is interesting.
Not bad, actually.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I didn't expect this. Now, it doesn't fully remove the potential of that really strong play that can happen with the Tyrael Judgment, but it makes it a lot easier because you can mitigate the damage with Tassadar coming through. Hope to keep that target alive. If positioning is good, you can do a lot with that. But will it be Hunt Illidan or Metamorphosis Illidan is more my question. Like, for sustained damage, Metamorphosis could do a lot for you here. You try to hunt someone to just be Divine Shielded, unless you really just want to use them as more of a global hero.
I think even using the Hunt to get the shield out, I think that's a great trade for BlossoM. To have that at the beginning of the teamfight, I think that's still okay. So, but Ballistix, right now, they were thinking of a mage, but with Illidan, they need something else now, maybe.
I think I was thinking exactly either Gul'dan or Li Ming, because Gul'dan will disrupt this entire... Like, he will disrupt everything that Ballistix will try to do if he does a good Horrify. Li Ming's going to have good, consistent damage and will not be really affected by the evasion of Illidan. I swear one day they'll rework Illidan just to give him protection, just like Genji, instead of evade. He'll just be like strongest hero ever. Blizzard wants to do that so bad, I know I could feel it. But Gul'dan can disrupt the setups for the Illidan. He can do longer sustained damage that evasion cannot penetrate. And he's fantastic, obviously, for shrining. And as long as Ballistix doesn't make a mistake on the shrine, then they should actually be able to control it. If they lose a fight around the shrine, though, like, Illidan can fast clear that so fast, and they can just split everyone else to different directions. I like the Illidan pick for what it does in the solo lane and for what it could potentially do in team fights, but this is BlossoM off the rails here a little bit, and let's find out if it works out for them at the end of the day. It's been a long time since we've seen Wiz on this iconic hero. I'm excited, to say the least.
I think it can actually work out compared to Li Ming and Kel'Thuz. I also thought Gul'dan was the easiest one to hit all that spell damage onto Illidan. But once he dives in, he may actually be in trouble, but at least get the Divine Shield or either Sanctification out. I think that's what they need to start off the team fight, but it may actually cost Illidan's life. That would be a problem. Let's see how well Wiz can contain himself before the team fight.
Yeah, a lot of damage done here early on, actually. Very well done by Dudu to do some damage to that outer cannon tower, but he's going for Echoed Corruption, looking for like kind of more sustained, longer fights, longer game. Another good mage here would have been potentially Jaina, because obviously Jaina adds to the slows that will affect Illidan. They're even gonna like lane swap Modern Life up here to bully Jung'A. It's not gonna be, you know, the even matchup we expected here, but actually it's gonna be a bullying. It does force rotations to be made, but when you're already kind of losing in terms of wave clear at this stage at level 1 to the Gul'dan, like, I don't know if this choice actually is the best one. If they have SC up here, it can actually help mitigate this. Now, I like this a lot. Gondar trying to come in here and get the stun. It does miss it, so unfortunately this doesn't work out at the end of the day, but SD can rotate between the lanes when it's Nasong's Lucio who's actually competing with him in lane.
They're using lots of resources on top lane and may actually lose Gondar to get the shield and survive at the end, but
46 armor, by the way. Like,
yeah, that's all that cost. Ballistix really had to have that because Tassadar was not even in the bottom lane. Of course, Lucio Tassadar would not be too much damage, just clearing waves, as Nasong was the only one at the bottom lane for the entire game for now, as they were really trying to pressure the top lane from the beginning.
It forced a pretty big rotation. Like, SDE actually started going up, and obviously he's still going to win this the second he comes back for like 1 second, but
that's not too bad of a matchup. Also does not give the most stack as Lucio. It's easier to dodge with the speed boost.
Yeah.
Of course your wave clear is terrible in that way, but still, if you don't really have to join your team at the top by having a Tassadar, I think that this is a fine matchup for BlossoM.
It's definitely a kind of a wonky one, but like it's not the worst case scenario, right? And I like that you mentioned this ability to dodge those corruption stacks. Let's see how Ballistix wants to play the next few moments. They committed to the camp, and now they have options. Like, they can try to protect it here and escort this. Punish this play that's designed to kill the Shaman himself. It's going to be the top shrine, obviously, we knew that. They don't get much out of this. This is a really even game right now. This game is going to be one of our first games, I feel like, in HGC career because of the weird lane swap with Tassadar Illidan in the top lane, which forced Ballistix to play off meta. I think this is the first game we've had this whole season where we're kind of like, we're seeing like the soul lane doesn't matter as much as it has in other games, like pretty much all season long. Because it's just simply a swap. There is no theoretical soul lane. Like, we could say Lucio versus Gul'dan soul lane, but like, I mean, it's a little bit weird. A little bit off meta. A little bit rules of drafting broken by the Zeratul pick last game and in this game as well. A little bit of lane swapping. But it throws you off, you know.
Yeah, at level 6, Ballistix is not going to have the most damage. In terms of sustain, they do have it with their heals coming up. SDE has to put out the maximum spell damage as Greymane is getting solo. Lucy almost got a kill on the Greymane.
Yep. really close call there. I liked how Magi was moving, trying to kind of block. You can see that even though there's not control of the shrine to Ballistix because they have Gul'dan, he's just doing so much damage and helping clear out these Guardians. So SD gets low again. Looks like he might go down this time. This could be the turnaround they need, but Dudu is also very, very low. Again, looking for the smite kill there. Wait till you see the Tyrael rework, man. I'm going to see a lot of that action coming through.
Yeah, smite build is actually a thing now.
Yeah, but they will secure this because they have Gul'dan.
Maybe they're letting go of the Punisher, but they're not letting it go without a single kill. Wiz going in, throws SCSE into the fight again. But they can't fight for too long. Punisher is coming soon.
Yeah, this feels like a bait by Ballistix, and they thought maybe they could win a longer fight there with the Punisher, but I mean, it is Lucio they're playing against. I don't think that was a winning battle versus an Uther comp. Like, Magi could never heal 4 members like Lucio can in that situation. I guess they made this push a little bit weaker. SD's already gone back to the solo lane, so it's kind of funny because we're in a situation where I need to take Callous Light, which is actually not that unusual in Korea. This is a kind of situation where Ballistix is forced to switch their solo lane player because of the situation, because Tastar has been kind of protecting Illidan most of the time. But Ballistix has responded so well, throwing SDE down there immediately, knowing he wins the fight against basically anyone else 1v1. Would not win against Illidan, obviously, because he'd get Doven on, but against Lucio he's fine. If they sent, you know, Hanzo down there, he'd be fine there too. BlossoM has adapted, this is Illidan up there for a little while. But Ballistix has kind of stayed even here, and they've been more proactive about camps. Look at the camp timing again. Both camps taken before BlossoM. BlossoM has to play defensively now. And they don't have invade potential. When the camps are already basically being taken by Ballistix, they have to stay in lane.
Well, let's see after 10. Ballistix, they're waiting for that chance with the Horrify to isolate and bring it into team fight. They do have the protection, all the protection tool against Illidan diving in. So I think that's what they've been waiting. They just have to soak till 10 and then try to make the team fight, because from game 1 and game 2 they learned that BlossoM is not really the best condition today for team fights. They've been losing the entire time.
Yeah. I mean, in game 1 they had a comp that was not designed to win team fights on even footing, and then in game 2 they had a comp that was never going to win team fights like ever. Now in this game though, like, I think their comp certainly can win team fights, but a lot of it's going to be based on the Horrifies. So if they can bait out Horrifies early, I think they're going to have a good shot. Or if Illidan takes the hunt, and they can chain stun SDE and kill him before he can even use a Horrify remove half the damage of Ballistix, win the longer fight through the sustained healing they have with Lucio and Tastar together, like, they win the longer fight. But getting that pick will make it so much easier. So I do think that there's an argument for Metamorphosis here, but I don't think we're going to see it being held at the moment. Just depends on what they want, how they want to play this, because like SDE could just always stay at the back and just be impossible to pick with the hunt.
Do you think we have a chance of seeing Judgment?
Yes.
Very low, but I think yes.
I think it's going to be, it will be decided based on the first team fight. Like, if they can isolate a pick, he will lock it in and get it.
Yeah, I think Uther's also holding in because when the hunt comes in, the Storm can just CC him and he'll be gone in that instant. With the Judgment pair up, so Ballistix just holding in for a second. As it is the Warlord challenge.
Yep.
And Dragon's Arrow, because they don't have too much CC, of course. Garrosh can toss over, but paired up with the CC, they can do so much more damage.
It was always going to be the Arrow, even if you have, I mean, you just need to be able to set something up for that follow-up pick, especially if you're going to go for Hunt, but it is going to be Metamorphosis, and I like this because their comp is so sustained versus Uther.
Yeah.
This is a pick for Shrine Control, not for like getting picks, getting a win in the team fight by getting that early kill. Like, let's see how Ballistix fares this time against Metamorphosis in a longer fight. The Horrify needs to be on point, or else they're going to have some problems. Ballistix
it is still Divine Storm though, so even Wiz does need to look for Uther's positioning. I think it is for him to have pressure on from Illidan coming in when SD will be in danger all the time, because Gul'dan can't really save himself with the Horrify. He can, but if that misses, he's basically gone. Illidan will chase him down, so that Storm is a safety tool.
Alright, here comes Archon.
You see Magi just slowly going in once.
Okay, so much damage coming through here. Divine Storm goes down. It's going to be Illidan's the first to die, actually, before he can use Metamorphosis. Can they turn this fight around? I just don't think so. And in fact, it looks like Ballistix is going to take these final skeletons, get the Arcane Punisher. Gondar, will he get out with his 45 armor this time? I don't think so. Down he goes. And G-Clef, you know, this is a fight that was essentially won by the Divine Storm, where they were able to stop Illidan from metamorphosing, stop him from living through that sustained healing. It was very well played. And, you know, Horrify was decent, obviously, but, like, that was it. Once Illidan was down, the draft kind of relies on him to be that strong front, sustained damage while Hanzo pokes at the back line. Once he goes down, like, no one on BlossoM can really stay there. Horrify is a potent tool. You have the Echoed Corruption doing so much damage. I think if that quest hasn't finished yet, it's probably about to.
I think Wiz had the mindset of using the Metamorphosis right as he went in as a bait to get that Sanctification and also Divine Storm out of the way, but I think he was slightly too late and he got himself trapped in there. But once he does that, I think he can actually lead the team fight into their side.
BlossoM had such a great start using the pressure of potentially the tosses coming out from Garrosh and Illidan's team fight potential there as well. Like, they did really well at controlling the early part of the Shrine, but Ballistix' comp is just so good at poking it down and catching up with Gul'dan, especially with Echoed Corruption. So they needed to force a fight there eventually, or they were just going to lose the control that they had, and the Divine Storm was ready. A very smart pick. Sank here, you know, obviously going to offer less pick potential, but looks like they want to take defensive fights rather than actually engage hard onto this highly sustained Lucio Tassadar comp. Dude, getting very low here, but you can see Nasong, once he turns on that healing, man, it's pretty easy to get it all back. Punisher did a force worth of damage, essentially. We're start working on that wall in the bot lane. And Ballistix only find themselves about a level and a half up. This is a game that BlossoM certainly could turn around at a moment's notice.
And
our closest game by far.
Without that hunt, they can't really have any global control, but in terms of rotation, Ballistix is having their way as they're really pushing with the Punisher last time, really pushing into the bottom lane. That keep wall, I think, has been worked a little bit. And they can't really push in. It'll be really hard as Illidan Lucio with the Soundbearer can always come in from anywhere. So they're really taking this slow as they have the lead, no risk involved. BlossoM, but they need to take risk. Not too much of a risk that they can actually fall behind even more. And the problem, I think the problem here has been Garrosh, who I thought it was okay during draft. But right now, Ballistix, they're having so much better of a positioning. Even when you toss a Leoric or Ethereal, has a Sanctification, even Entomb, can actually benefit the other team in a way.
Yeah.
So Garrosh is having a big trouble if you throw the Uther down now. There's a Storm to lock everyone up. Best target is Gul'dan, but Gul'dan's never going to be close to you. So Garrosh has been only taking hit and doing nothing in the front line.
Yeah, I mean, he's done it well, like, especially that time he survived at the beginning. It's like you can see the power of Tassadar paired with Garrosh. Oh, this is a sick invade. Ballistix is just going to walk up and casually steal this. The toss potential, though, yeah, it has not been there, and yeah, it's a risk. Like, it is a risk. I agree. I wonder what could have happened if this comp actually had better CC behind it, instead of a Tassadar, for example, or, you know, with an Illidan, with something different as a soul laner. It could be very different, but with this comp, like, you're not really grabbing anything. You're just a big tanky tank that has a lot of armor. But that helps you win the sustain war, which they do win, but if Ballistix kills someone with a Divine Storm, they win that team fight. They have now essentially bullied the map, trying to look for team fights. And BlossoM has just been so passive that they've taken complete control. Like, they've been roaming the map. They haven't had any team fights since that fight. They've already got control of the Shrine. Like, what does BlossoM do now to get this back?
Look at all the damage from Gul'dan and Gondar, even with that armor. So, there's that potential, as you mentioned. But if that potential never burst out in the game and they lose, then was there a point of picking Garrosh into this? You know, maybe ETC, even more than I think, could have been better, providing some CC at least. Try to even have some gank with Illidan from the beginning. Of course, the rotation will be different with that team comp.
Yeah, well, we're going to see Holy Ground here get tossed down. Gondar is stuck, but this is actually an opportunity for BlossoM. Using the speed boost here, Nasong trying to isolate the Hooligan. Does get that second Holy Ground off, though, and will get out, but they did control the Shrine for a moment. Ballistix going to clear this wave. They've got 16 now, BlossoM does. That means double Side Storms here as well. It's going to help clear this. as you can see, spreading those out. But here comes the invade for Ballistix. They want to secure those final 10. Their comp has been mostly used defensively so far. They're trying to use Holy Ground to get that pick. Echoed Corruption is complete now, just under 14 minutes. Okay, here's the stun chain we're talking about. Cleanse comes through, and he will go down. Sound Barrier comes up here, and look at Wiz. He's got that sustained healing. Here comes Metamorphosis. This is the fight that BlossoM was looking for. Triple stun into the Horrify is going to help them get out of here. Will they get any kills, though? I don't think so. Zank used here. They're on the chase for Wiz.
They have Greymane missing, so they can't really look for any kills. They can do damage, but there's a sustain from Lucio, so there is no reason to fight anymore other than getting the Punisher. They did get it, so that's going to buy some time. I think losing Jungha, just taking too much damage, even without his using Entomb, costed the entire team's front line and also Greymane's life in that case. BlossoM, this is the fight they were looking for. They had a Sound Barrier at the perfect time. Illidan was doing the most damage. Metamorphosis to dodge all the CC. Nicely done, but they still lost the Punisher, so they have to climb back up a little bit more.
Yeah. Like, BlossoM's fight there, I feel like, was finally won because Ballistix were forced to be the ones to engage. They lost control of the shrine even though they had the lead. They were looking to finish it off. Those last 10, those are the ones that were the most painful to grab. Hooligan kept looking for Holy Grounds where he was able to then, lock out a member, but it was always in those moments, Gondar, who was in the perfect position to prevent that from happening. He was the one who was caught. He's caught a lot of sustain from Lucio. He's got the shields coming in from Tastar. And Ballistix had that amazing combo way too late. They already lost members, and had they started the fight with that, it would have been a different story. Obviously, pretty difficult to do. Easier said than done.
Entomb onto Gondar alone, maybe just to buy some time.
Yeah, I think that's exactly
the longest cooldown.
Yeah, it's a pretty short cooldown, so this is just kind of like, all right, get out of here. You guys are not doing any more damage to the fort.
Yes.
Still got 6 up, 3 and 3, forts and keeps. Ballistix only a little bit ahead in terms of experience now, though, with that lost team fight. BlossoM certainly has a window into this game. I feel like right now I like what BlossoM's doing because there's no objective per se, but there's threatening stuff. And if Ballistix ends up wasting Horrify or Divine Storm here that doesn't have it for the objective, that's when BlossoM's going to win those fights where they can be so much more aggressive. I think that's the plan. It was such a great cleanse there. I keep calling Jungha's Unstoppable cleanse. It's not a cleanse, but he's using it to avoid stuns, which he did again in this last fight. Kind of call it a self-cleanse.
And Entomb is back already. They should realize it, that the short cooldown is in the way, and they have to rotate down because Illidan will be pressuring hard as they don't have any. They do have the mid fort. I think that's going to go down very soon too.
Rotating up here a little bit slower to do this camp. Obviously, SC already took it solo, the camp of Ballistix. This lane is really pushed, which actually is kind of a good thing for BlossoM. It means they can farm this wave freely. Because if it was in the middle of the lane, like it wasn't pushed, they would actually be at risk right now farming this. Now, Ballistix is still going to get 20 first, and BlossoM is able to make that gap a little bit less wide. If I kill on this fort, we get it for them. Oh, might get about 2 more minion waves of wood as well, so just going to clear this and start poking down this fort. If it goes down, that is 20. BlossoM does not want that to happen. They're moving over here. Remember, forcing these defensive heroics, the Horrify and the Divine Storm, that is what BlossoM realistically needs to do in this next team fight. They're catching up in experience, though, with that wave that was up in top lane.
I think they have just enough time. Maybe they can just come a little bit slightly later to pick up that number, because all they're looking for is one team fight to end the game after 20.
It's going to be tough, though, because if they leave this shrine for too long, Ballistix will run away with it with Echoed Corruption and cooldown. But the shrine is just not finishing. They didn't quite get 20. But they're going to do, as you say, try to do that late approach. Tastar already had to use Dimensional Shift. This is horrible for BlossoM. This movement ability's gone. All right, poke coming through here. Looking to set up is Dudu. Dismounted. Already 1/4 taken for Ballistix. 20's up. They need to somehow try to force this fight. Waste those defensive heroics. Look at how patient Ballistix is being. Just kiting back here. Okay, Wiz coming in maybe too far.
Goes in, but does get out of the storm range instantly. Nicely done.
Yep, just zoning
the range.
Yeah, just zoning them here. And Dudu's doing a great job as Hanzo to kind of poke them, put them away. Look at Gondar's position as well. He's looking to stop them from rotating in. 22 to 25 now. Toss comes through.
They're catching up in number. Look at Magi's positioning. He's like, I got the storm. I'm going in, guys.
Yeah. is basically trying to say, come at me, bro, to the Illidan. Here comes the Entomb coming down. Gondar, though, in a great spot. Divine Storm, though, not enough to save Leoric, and not really doing too much to Wiz. He's heavily shielded right now. So much sustain for Wiz. He is going at it. SC is going to be the next to fall. They do get the Punisher again here, but they lose the team fight.
Look at all that damage, but covered by the sound barrier. Nasam was holding that in until the moment Gul'dan was almost able to do so much damage with the Echo Corruption, but
well, Magi get out. Smite going to give him a little bit of movement speed here. Wasted his Redemption. He's dead. Redemption is on a long cooldown. And now this is a fantastic position for BlossoM.
Lucio, we didn't quite catch that off screen.
Maybe he died to the punt. No, he died to Gul'dan. Okay, so he was not here. No one was here, which is somewhat of an issue because they do defeat this to defend the keep. It's an Arcane Punisher. Looks like they're just take their sweet time about it. Wiz has played a great Illidan this game.
Yes.
And it's been about positioning. Obviously, you know, he's mechanically skilled in terms of these team fights and stuff like that, but like his positioning has been what has allowed him to kind of freely come through and try to bait those Divine Storms, also avoiding them, getting the maximum amount of damage done there. Then the first Divine Storm came through, he knew that the fight was probably his because there was just no other way to shut him down after that moment. And Metamorphosis ended up being the right pick, you know, even though we talked about how it was really rare and like almost never used and Hunt was super meta, but in this draft with the Lucio Tastor in this specific comp for the longer fight on the Shrine, I think Metamorphosis is the right choice, and BlossoM has fought their way back into this. They saved their keep. Had they lost the keep, they would have been still in a pretty bad spot. They saved the keep, and they've proven now twice they can win a fight. Maybe the third time they win the fight and get the Punisher and walk for core, because we're at 21 minutes into the game. One of our longest games actually in this tournament thus far. And it's not a Dragonshire game either. So this next fight, I mean, Wiz already has Metamorphosis permanent. You can tell by the skin. Let's see how this goes. Like, I think Ballistix might have to be a little bit more proactive if they want to get the good Horrify that could maybe then set up the Divine Storm. But waiting defensively there, they got baited.
Let's see how they want to work this one out after 21 as they're slowly pressuring in. Punisher has been working on the bottom keep a little bit, so they can pressure that lane so that it does some more damage, so BlossoM would feel that pressure very soon as the time goes on. But having Illidan, BlossoM really going all the way around, really taking all that camp, also maintaining that vision with Lucio just rotating now.
This is such a cool move where Ballistix is kind of like hinting at, I will threaten your keep. You have to come and defend it, and that's when I'm going to take that engagement, potentially defensively there. Just setting up the waves to potentially get that keep, which will give so much extra bot pressure for the rest of this game, where we're talking about long fights where we're looking at almost 80 defenders killed. We're like 5 off here, nearly both teams getting 40. BlossoM will eventually get this fort here, but it's not the same significance. And at this point, there's really no objectives minus the bottom keep, so both teams are posturing carefully, slowly. Kind of a turtly late game phase here, which happens a lot with team comps like this. It's kind of game of chicken, because the defender has such a large advantage on both sides. Shrine will be mid, which is very lucky for BlossoM, as if not, they could let's just clear that bot wave at the same time as taking it and get the keep. Will not be able to get the keep yet. Ballistix again setting up defensively to just have Gul'dan chunk these down, force the fight out of BlossoM to take the defensive engage. But when baited last time, BlossoM was able to win the fight when Wiz survived.
Here comes Gondar tosses over SC.
Zank is good. Oh, but there you go. Wiz is dead. Fight's over. SC getting stunned, but look at all the heals coming through. He's able to make this a trade that is a winning trade. Tosses coming through. Hanzo does a lot of damage, but is it enough? Modern Life doing a lot with this Twilight Archon. Could they turn the fight without Illidan? Well, doesn't look like it. Twilight Archon's strong, but not that strong.
Still too much sustain from all the members of Ballistix here, as SD is still way too strong. Magi's fighting against Hanzo himself this entire time.
I think he has Redemption as well, so never a huge risk there. And now Ballistix just walks for the win here on core. Gondar trying to buy time so that maybe his teammates can respawn and defend this. It's funny how Tastar and the Twilight Archon played the role of Illidan, staying alive, doing the damage. This is the healing coming through. Magi very low. Does have that redemption, though, as you can see with the UI here, so at the end of the day, not that significant. Gotta try to buy time. Wiz comes out in 6. Like, still looking for the core here.
Maybe they can... Let's see how well Wiz does have Metamorphosis himself, but if Gondar dies here right before he comes in, it's going to be core.
Okay, Wiz is just trying to buy some time, but look at all the damage Gul'dan can put off. SDE is the target right now. He's healing up. Sound barrier is good. SDE is getting low.
Horify is back. Is going to use it, but and the core is
I think the
down.
Horify is enough to get the core here. It's got enough, plus the fact that Tyrael will explode. That is going to be the series going to Ballistix with a 3-0, winning that final 24-30 game. The Horify connected with Wiz there, and you just saw his health bar disappear. And that was the story of this entire game, is can they actually CC the Illidan to kill him, or does he out-sustain after those heroics are on cooldown and win the fight alone? It felt like an ancient, old composition and old strategy with a new support hero, Lucio, who has the best healing output kind of over time, with no mana costs in the game, to try to use this different Illidan strategy with a lane swap in the early game so they weren't dominated by Ballistix' macro. It was a really cool idea.
Yeah.
But
it was a better idea overall, but still seeing now that Uther kind of countered super hard against what they have prepared for tonight, as Tassadar Illidan did work some time, but that Storm seemed like the charm and seemed like the answer. Maybe just banning Uther from the very beginning. I think that could have been a better way of approaching everything into this match.
They gave the consideration, you know, they really did. We talked about it a lot, but at the end of the day, it was just a good reaction to hold on to. They held the Sank even. They were like, Judgment here. Eventually decided to lock in Divine Storm, which was a great counter there against the dive. Very carefully used, very defensively used. Had they not been able to identify what they needed there and they took Divine Shield instead, I think that it would have been a very difficult game for Ballistix to win. And also their playstyle, their very defensive nature in how they took those shrines, minus the one mistake, was really just patience. It was experience. It was learning on the fly in game. And will we ever see a comp like this again? I don't think so, but it was cool to see it one more time and see it with like a new light with Lucio here, because Lucio and Illidan were never like together with the Tastar before, because Illidan fell out because when Lucio came, like there was Genji, and like you didn't really ever want, like Genji basically replaced Illidan in so many ways. Sonya as well. Yeah. It's kind of like, why would you ever use this as your top solo laner, because there's other options. Like Sonya has CC and is tankier. But anyway, it was fun to watch. Like game number 1, interesting draft. Game number 3, I feel like on the fly, really cool older draft. The execution was crisp on games 1 and game 3. Game 2, the draft went horribly.
Zeratul. I still have doubt in that pick, but still they tried something new. It didn't work against Ballistix, maybe against some other teams later on into HGC. But today they were the losing team, and they kind of made it work. I could see some promising plays later on with Illidan play. It seems like a secret card they can actually still have. Even the meta shift to Tastar did work in few team fights, not all the time. So of course there was SDE's cooldown, so much damaging just output from the other side. I think that really was the problem. Even though there was no Divine Shield, Illidan really was not diving in entirely because maybe he was scared from the Divine Storm all the time. And SDE this entire series has been just free damaging all the time from the back line.
Yeah, a terrifying poke player, whether it's the Gul'dan, the Hanzo, the Greymane,
anything.
Tychus. A very scary player right now, and I think really underrated. I feel like he and Reset are going to be the rival best DPS players in Korea in terms of ranged poke, because SC plays a more dive-oriented style. His Vala would have been considered the world's best ranged poke last year, but obviously Vala no longer really meta in Korea at the moment. So it's going to be a 3-0 score for Ballistix. We will have an interview, of course, with our MVP of the series, and G-Cliff is going to translate that for you guys in a little while. Don't forget, don't go away. We do have Team Ace versus Team Miracle as our second series of the night. I think that one could maybe even go all 5 games. It's definitely going to be a closer one, so don't go, oh man, I'd stay up to watch HGC Korea and it's over already. The 3-0.
I want the Green Lantern already. I want EU, but not yet, guys. As you're stuck with us. Not stuck, as everyone will be watching. But seems like we're going to interview. Did you hear anything?
I didn't hear any calls in my ear, but I think they're getting the interview ready. I'm guessing it's going to be O-Prime again today. Hong Kong was still a little bit new at the whole casting biz, but O-Prime probably out there asking the real questions. He didn't ask the real question about Dragon Strike last time, sadly.
Not last time. Well, when King was here, King actually did mention that from the very beginning. He was
Yeah.
like, why did you choose Dragon Strike? What's the reason?
Yeah.
Who told you to pick it? Did you pick it? He was straightforward, man.
Yeah.
I like those kind of interviews a lot more.
Well, we'll see. O-Prime's going to probably play a little bit more chill. These are our predictions for the interview, guys. The interview questions. We're like, how deep are they going to get into this? Is it going to be a little bit more passive? Is it going to be a little bit more aggressive? Is it going to be a dive comp interview? Was it like, what? Why did you pick this? Like, were you worried? Or is it going to be, a sustained, comp interview where you sit back and you go like, wow, congratulations. How do you feel?
That's the regular Giri interview.
You've been having a lot of success recently. All right, so the highlights weren't ready, I guess, but yeah, the regular Giri interview indeed. Miss Giri in Heroes of the Storm. That was the missed Ancestral that was the beginning of the end for this team. We talked about the 10-minute team fight here that lost them the game. From this moment on, they had no longer had control of the macro. Look at the map. See all the pushes that were in blue? Look at it now. Not there anymore. And then they lose the second fight. Despite having a great start, there was the two-man mosh. And that was the last nail in the coffin. The game was over at this moment.
Just keep your eyes on SDE and just see how much fun he's having every single time. Game 1, 2, 3.
All right. Well, we saw Blaze. Obviously, that was not really the big story of this game. Like, I think you could have picked they could have picked Chen with this comp and still been fine.
Or Rexar.
Yeah, they could have picked Rexar as their tank here against the comp that BlossoM failed to build. You could see like it was like a mannequin that was like missing like both of its arms or both of its legs. It like couldn't quite build the mannequin. They couldn't quite build the figure they were looking for. All right, so this is the team fights we were watching where watch Uther's positioning here. Magi, Divine Storm, boom, with the Sank. Once Wiz is dead, he's the frontliner, they lose the fight. I think this is the first fight. Oh, actually, no, we're going to the last fight, never mind. So, see, the Sank is really good. Look at Wiz, feared, stunned. Divine Storm used afterwards, not even necessary, not even needed. Well, like, that was all it takes. One of the two of those allows them to kill Wiz. They win the fight. So, we're going to have an interview with our MVP, Jung-Ah. It is going to be O-Prime and his G-Clef to translate. G-Clef, tell us what kind of interview it's going to be.
Claps.
Clap, clap, clap.
Of course, first of all, let's hear how you feel after winning this match. Well, after winning set number 1 and 2, we kind of had the feeling that we're going to take game number 3 also. Well, let's talk about game 2. I think he wanted game 2 instead. We had Blaze in game 2. And Jung-Ah, you mentioned in your stream that you're going to use it Blaze if the time is right. How do you think Blaze is right now in the meta? I don't think it is too much of a good or OP hero right now, but he's, I think, suitable in some team comps.
블레이즈의 활용이 굉장히 좋았으니까 혹시 그런 좋은 상황이 나오는 각 같은 게 있나요?
Is there a situation where you can actually see Blaze coming in?
아, 영업 비밀이라서.
Oh, that's my secret. I can't really tell you because, like, my team is holding in all the keys. Okay, I won't ask you too much then.
그리고 세 번째 세트. 사실 세 번째 세트를
But after turning that game to 2-0, and the third game actually it took a longer time.
마지막이 아니었어. 테사다르에게만 묘실이 들어갔던 그 장면. 그 장면은
all the defensive tools when you're using the Entomb on the Tassadar alone.
정하 선수 스스로에게 좀 어땠나요?
Were you in a panic or what was happening at the moment?
세 번째 경기는 솔직히 제가 못한 플레이 때문에 게임이 좀 힘들었던
Well, game 3 because I think I made lots of mistakes, so I think that's why it was so slow in a way.
오늘 명장면이라고 할 수 있다면 마기 선수가 보치를 천상의 보호막으로 막아주는 그런 플레이인데
And today when
혹시
Magi
그때 뭐 어떤 콜이 나온 게 있었나요?
had the Divine Shield actually
골은
blocking the
딱히 안
cocoon,
나왔고,
did you actually
저가
guys
그때 아마
did you guys
무적
actually
썼을
shot
거예요.
call
그래서
that moment?
무적 없나 생각하긴 했어요. 저한테
네.
무적을 주길 바랬는데 잘한 플레이 같아요. 그래도.
마기 선수
I was kind of
개인적으로 그런
waiting for that
플레이를
Divine Shield onto
해준 거죠?
myself actually, but I was
자,
kind of
그러면은
wondering if does he not have the shield or is he not going to save me? But I think I think it was actually a better decision, of course, to not save me instead and saving my teammates instead with the Divine Shield.
항상 직관 와주시는
And as
팬분들께
usual, last
감사하고,
set of words to your
집에서 봐주신
fans.
팬분들께도 감사합니다.
And thank you
네,
to all the fans who
이것으로
came out,
인터뷰
supported us
마무리하도록
today at the
하겠습니다.
venue, and also fans back home. Thank you all the time for rooting Ballistix. Of course, not L5 anymore.
So it was kind of like a hybrid interview. At first he was like, "Congratulations, how do you feel?" Then he was like, "Blaze came out today. Like, what do you think? Like about the hero in general? You played him." And he was like, "Well, not a carry." But then at the end he was like, "So you like entombed only Tassadar? What happened?" Like then he got like a little bit more aggressive at the end. You know, it's like a slow build up to the and then at the end slow. It's like, so any words to your fans? Like it was like a what? You know, it's a little bit of a curve there.
Yeah, I was wondering because he was saying, "Oh, you're pretty good in game number 1 and game number 2," and he was explaining all that. He's like, "So what happened in game 3? I mean," and then Jungha was having the passive. I mean, they're known as a team with no fun. They call it no jam, as jam means fun and no jam. So, but SCSC was the harder one, I think. Jungha's, I don't think he's the hardest one to interview at all.
No, he's pretty calm and collected. Very similar to Sign. I feel like in a lot of ways in terms of his interviews. Very different personality, obviously off camera, but very kind guy and often the shot caller with SDE for the team. So good to hear from him, and it was exciting to kind of see Blaze played by him. See if we see any more Blaze games tonight. I know we will probably see some later on in other regions. Small chance we'll see one in this next series, but before we go to Miracle versus Ace, guys, we're going to have a little bit of a longer commercial break. When we come back, that second series.